Hello and welcome to More Knits. This is a video podcast about knitting and occasionally crochet. My name is Abby. I am a college student. I've been knitting seriously for about a year and a half. I did learn to knit about 10 years ago though, and I'm also an aspiring knitwear designer, so I'm going to be sharing a few of my designs in progress. This is episode 4. I filmed my last episode about 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to try an episode every 2 weeks, and we'll see how that works out. You can find me on Instagram as more.knits and on Ravelry as Abby Moreland. All of that will be linked below, as well as my email address if you would like to get in touch about anything. And we also have a Ravelry group, and that is just More Knits. And in the Ravelry group, you will find all of the show notes, as well as all of the episodes. And then there's a couple other fun threads that you can find. I'm looking out the window and I thought it was raining, but I think it's just like leaves falling or something falling from the trees. I'm a little bit distracted today. It's a Sunday, and I usually film these on a Saturday, but I don't have a ton of knitting to show you today because it's only been 2 weeks since I last filmed, and I don't get a lot of knitting time. My main knitting time is on the weekends. So I wanted to film this on a Sunday so that I would have Saturday's knitting to show you. I'm drinking coffee today as usual. And I think I'm just gonna get started. So I want to start with finished objects, and I only have one for you today, but this is my Tegna by Catlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks. I showed this in my last episode, but I was counting it as a whip because it wasn't blocked and the ends weren't woven in, and I wasn't considering it a finished object, but I have done all of those things. It is now finished. I've worn it out as well, and I love it. So I'm gonna hop back a little bit so I can show you. This is the finished shirt. I love the lace, and I love the way that this speckled yarn worked up. And the neckline, I ended up modifying it slightly by making it a little bit longer so that it fits a little bit tighter on me at the neckline. That was just a design, just a style difference that I wanted with this. Otherwise, I believe I left everything the same, except I did, on the sleeves here, I did modify the rib. It called for a 1x1 rib, and I modified it to, 1x1 twisted rib, just because I felt like that looked a little bit nicer. So I am in love with this sweater t-shirt thing. I wore it yesterday, and it was really warm outside, and it was perfect. It was just that perfect, like thin layer, but it is made out of wool, and so it kept the wind out, and I really, really love it. I do have kind of a funny story with this because I blocked it a couple of weeks ago, and when I put it in the water to soak it, it stretched out to a dress. It was huge, and I was a little bit concerned. I did use superwash wool, and so I was expecting a bit of growth, a bit of stretch, but not that much, and my swatch didn't do that, and so I was a little bit worried. And I'll share a photo of how big it was because it was literally a dress. It would have been a dress on me. So I laid it out, and I pinned out the lace, and I blocked the lace, and I let it air dry, it was about 40% dry, and I think it had shrunk up just a little bit, but not by much. So what I decided to do was, because this is superwash wool and nylon, I threw it in the dryer. I put it on like the most delicate cycle of my dryer. I think I also told it no heat. It might have used a little bit of heat, but very, very minimal heat. And about half an hour after that, I pulled it out, and it had shrunk so much. It was super tiny. So I'm going to share some photos so you can see the difference between the two. The good thing is, this is the size that I wanted it. It had shrunk a little bit smaller than it was when I had finished knitting it pre-blocking. But the pattern came out just a little bit big when I was knitting it. So I'm really, really happy with this size, thankfully, because you never know what's gonna happen when, you treat the wool like that. And I'm just really happy with the way that it turned out. I think it fits me really nicely. I think the only thing that I would have modified is I would have made the sleeves just a little bit longer, maybe about an inch longer. I think the sleeves are fine like this. I think it looks fine. It fits comfortably. But I think I would have liked the look if it was just about an inch longer. So that's really the only thing that I would modify about this sweater if I were to knit it again. I'm seeing a lot of people cast this on and working on this sweater, and I love everyone's sweaters. I think that they're gorgeous, and I'm so happy that I knit this. And yeah, I want to go through a couple of the details in case you're wondering about yarn. This is Manos del Uruguay Alegria. Alegria. Ugh. My pronunciation is really awful. In the colorway Overo, and it's just a really pretty speckled yarn. This is my first time working with a speckled yarn actually, and I really enjoyed it. And as I mentioned, it is 75% superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. So it's a pretty durable yarn. I went up to a US 3.75 millimeter to knit the main body. I think the pattern calls for a US 3. So to get gauge, I just had to go up a couple of sizes. And I knit the size medium. And I think that was not very many inches of positive ease. The pattern recommends 8 to 10 inches of positive ease, but I wanted a bit more of a fitted sweater. And it is very flowy and very loose at the bottom of the sweater, but it's quite fitted up at top, which is what I was going for. So I think that's really all I have to share about this sweater. Like I mentioned, I really love it, and I'm so excited to wear it this spring and even in the summer when it gets, when the nights get a little bit cooler. Yeah, I really love this sweater. So now let's move on to whips. I have a few whips. 2 of them are socks. So I cast on a new pair of socks since we last talked, and I am actually almost done with the pair. I knit these in a week, less than a week, I think. I think it was like 6 days. And they're not completely finished yet, but what I have, they're almost done. So I'm going to show you the finished one. I shared these on my Instagram stories. This is the Fabel yarn by Drops, and it's a really, really affordable yarn. It is, what's the content here? I don't think I wrote the content down. Well, I will share that in the show notes. I think it's wool and nylon. And so I wouldn't say that they're the softest socks that I've ever worked on, but they are definitely durable, and I know that I have a feeling that they're gonna last a long time. This is my first time working with this yarn though, and I really like the print. I love how this knit up. It's not perfect. I wouldn't say that it looks like Fair Isle knitting, like some of these prints. They can kind of actually look like Fair Isle, but for, I don't know, a couple of dollars a skein, I feel like this worked up really well. And as you can see, I bought sock blockers. I bought these for the podcast because I just realized it's so much better to show off socks. So I knit a pretty short cuff. I just wanted to get to the plain stockinette, I guess. But it is a 1x1 rib, and then I knit the knits through the back loop. And then I did a slip stitch heel flap and gusset heel, which I think is my preferred fit. I don't know, I don't mind knitting them either. I don't really have a preference between a short row heel and then the short, or the heel flap and gusset. I think that this is my preferred fit though, so I think I'm going to be doing this from now on. And then for the toe, I just used a rounded, is it called a round? Just the round toe, and Kitchener for the heel. And then I also wanted to mention the, for the toe. I wanted to mention for the heel, I used a French heel. I think it's also called a round heel. I don't know. But I really like that combination. I think it looks really nice. So with the second one, I am here. I didn't put this one on a blocker, but I've made it through the leg, made it through the heel, and then I'm just a couple inches away. I finished the gusset decreases, and I'm just a couple inches away from putting in the toe. So I'm making really good progress with these. My yarn's all tangled up, of course. And I also wanted to mention that I'm knitting these on double pointed needles, and for a while my preferred way to knit socks was magic loop, which I still love. But I don't know, I just had this like desire to knit these on double pointed needles. So I'm using the Knitter's Pride Zing needles, and they're the ones with the little metal tip, and then I think this is a coating on the metal. And I really, really like these needles. They're kind of like a medium sharpness. I wouldn't say that they're as sharp as ChiaoGoo's, which are my favorite needles, but they're definitely sharp enough for sock knitting. And I also wouldn't say that they're blunt. So I really like them. They hold the stitches really well. There's a little bit of stickiness to them to really hold the stitches, but they're also very slick to knit with. So I'm really, really liking these. And I think they were around $8 including shipping when I bought them. So they're a pretty affordable needle. So yeah, I would really recommend them if you like double pointeds. So that's where I'm at with these socks. I'm really enjoying this print. They're just a lot of fun to knit with. I don't knit with self-striping or prints like this very often. And I'm just realizing how much fun it is to knit socks when your design is changing every few rows. So I think I forgot to mention, this is the Salt and Pepper print colorway from the Fabel drops, which you can get online depending on where you are. But I don't think that they sell in stores anywhere, but the skeins are just a few dollars. Okay, so second pair of socks. Let me take a sip of coffee real quick. These are, I showed these last episode, these are the socks that I'm designing, and they have this broken rib texture. It starts on the leg, all the way down the foot, and then all the way down to the tip of the toe. And I'm knitting these on Knit Picks Stroll Tweed in the Forest Heather colorway. I'm not a huge fan of this yarn. I've knit a couple of pairs of socks out of the Knit Picks Stroll, and it's really soft, but I feel like I'm gonna wear a hole in these pretty quickly. I walk a lot, and I just feel like I'm gonna wear a hole through these socks. They just don't feel super durable to me. So I don't know, but I mean, it looks nice, it feels nice, they're very soft, They do have nylon. They're merino wool, and they do have 25% nylon, but I don't know. Maybe I'll wear them a few more times. I haven't worn these yet because they're not finished, but I've worn my other ones, and so maybe I'll just keep wearing them and see if I wear a hole through them. But for this design, I stuck with the 1x1 twisted rib, which is one of my favorites for socks. I also used the what's it called? Did I write it down? I didn't. The German twisted cast on. That's what it's called. Which is a little bit of a stretchier cast on. And I didn't do that for my Fabel socks, and I actually don't feel like I need that stretchier cast on. I think I'm fine with just doing like a long tail cast on. Excuse me. Anyway, I used a German short row heel, and then that same round toe and Kitchener stitch for the toe. And I'm making progress on these. I haven't made too much progress since the last time I showed these, but sorry, hopefully next episode they will be done. But I do want to show you the progress that I made. So I was here last time. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I was right here last time. So I've made, a good 3 or 4 inches. And I think I'm about an inch away from putting in the toe. So I'm getting really close with these. Once I finish them, I will finish up the pattern and then open that up for test knitting. So I'm not sure if I'm going to cast on another pair, actually. I might knit another pair before I release that pattern. If you are interested in testing them, let me know. I have a Ravelry group that I test my patterns in right now, and I'm always open for other people testing my patterns. So those are my sock whips. I've really been into socks lately and yeah, I've just been really enjoying socks. So my last whip, I showed this last time, but I've made quite a bit of progress. So I have this in my So Much Yarn temporary project bag. I only have like 2 project bags, so I kind of just put my knitting wherever it will fit. Okay, so this is the textured shawl that I shared last time. This is another one of my designs, and I think I was really just wanting a big, cozy, textured shawl. That's kind of the inspiration with this shawl. And it's going to be a little bit difficult to show you because it's in that state where it's really, it's too big for the needles right now, and it's curling, and anyway, I'm just going to try to show you. So this is the shawl. This is the textured pattern. This is a triangle shawl knit from the top down. So really it goes this way. Here's the top, and this is the shawl. So if you see my little squid progress keeper that I made, and I love him, that is how much progress I have made since the last episode. So I've really been working on this shawl and my Fabel socks. That's kind of really all I've been knitting on lately. And I'm loving this shawl a lot. The yarn is really soft and beautiful to work with, and it's also a very affordable yarn. It is Plymouth Select Worsted, and it is a superwash merino, and the color is 8. So I think it's just a number. And I'm using my ChiaoGoo needles, my interchangeable needle set, which I love. I invested in this needle set a few months ago after using the Knit Picks metal ones. I had gotten an interchangeable set of those for Christmas and had used those for a long time, and these really are just so much nicer. Just knitting with them it really changes your knitting game a lot. So I have that set here, and I would really, really recommend these. Maybe grab a pair of like fixed circulars first to see if you like them, and then buy the interchangeable set. So yeah, I don't know if I really have too much else to share about this. I am planning a lace section, which I think I showed my swatch in my last episode, and that's still the plan for this. I'm just going to make it pretty big. I'm really wanting a large, cozy shawl, perfect for this upcoming fall and winter. So I'm hoping that I will release the pattern over the next few months whenever I can work on it, and it'll be available in the fall. So those are really all of my knitting projects. Again, if I'm filming this every 2 weeks, I'm not going to have a ton of knitting to show, but I do kind of like the shorter format with not as much knitting, but hopefully still enough so that these are entertaining. Show notes can be found down below in the description box, and they can also be found on my Ravelry group. And you can also find me online down below as well. I'm really just on Instagram and Ravelry, so that's it. But you can also email me if you have any questions. And I think that's it for today. So thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you soon. And I did want to mention that I've gotten a few new subscribers, and I really appreciate your support. Everyone on Instagram has been very sweet and encouraging about my new podcast, and I just really appreciate you subscribing and liking my videos. It's a really small thing, but this does take a lot of time to produce, and it is really encouraging to get good feedback on it. But if you also have critiques or know how I can improve, I am definitely open to that as well. You could either leave a comment or maybe message me privately, or you could even post in the Ravelry group if you wanted to. So I will see you in a few weeks, and until then, happy knitting!